Hello there. Welcome to Foxbox. I'm Tommy Danger, otherwise known as Firefox. And today we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be pulling what's called slide throughs. A slide through is essentially your top hand is going to be dynamic. It's going to be sliding the fan across the plane that you're traveling across. And then your bottom hand is going to be static. It's just going to be simply placing into a position somewhere on the grid based on where your slide through is going to wind up standing at the moment. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about just how to get into a regular slide through. For this instance, I'm going to do the example of a palm outward slide through. For a palm out slide through, what we're going to do is have both of our palms out, gripping their fans out to the side. We're going to have the top fan, our dynamic fan, is going to be letting go, so it just kind of hangs freely, okay? At the same time as you do that let go, you're going to want to drag your whole hand across and grab the fan on the other side. This little swing down gives you enough of an option to grab the fan again, so it looks almost like you scoop and make like a bottom half circle kind of motion when you're doing it. So we'll start here, we'll let go, we're going to pull our fan across and grab it on this side. Then what we're going to do is we're going to have this fan down here at the bottom part. It's going to be just moving across. Essentially, the best way to do that with our palms facing out is if you take your thumb and you press it against the bottom of your grip, and that kind of helps push your fan up to keep it as flat in the wall plane as possible. And you're just going to be pushing and pulling over to the other side. So you get this kind of like twisted arm position. Note, when I'm twisting backwards, I don't have to do my thumb in this position. On this slide through too, we're going to have the same concept going backwards, since I just forgot to talk about that. If we have this fan like this, we actually let go. We're also going to be dragging the fan over to this side. So all together, this one's coming across, and this one's sliding over. Now there's a couple things we can do with slide throughs. There's also a palm in spin, where we're actually going to be hitting the negative space between our head and our arm. So it's going to be dropping in like this, right through that opening. And to do that, we're just going to have our fan comfortably held out in front of us. Typically when that happens, you're going to have your palm facing in toward your body. So if we just let go and we pull our hand back on that swing and we just grab it, what we want to do is kind of give ourselves like a little mohawk with the fan wicks. Right here, we don't want to go too far back and hyperextend it like that. We just kind of want to stop right about the back of the head there. So it's going to hit that negative space and come right to the back of the head. And back. Now, if you notice, when I was doing the example of just coming in through the negative space and stopping, I was taking the fan and statically moving it to the front again to start over. The reason why is because the move we're about to do is called a walking slide through. At least I'm calling it a walking slide through. And for this movement, what we want to do is we want to have one fan's going to be statically placing into the front, and whichever fan's in the front at the moment is going to be doing the dynamic slide through to the back. So, moving straight to the front's going to be doing the slide through. So if we have our fans like this in this kind of a nice little bridged arcing motion, we have our fan in the front is going to be dropping and pulling in the negative space behind us to stop at the back of our head. And the fan that was in the back is now going to be placed in front, just kind of going over the top. So that switching motion is this kind of like, almost like assembly line replacement look to it. And what's really nice about that is if we have this nice little rigid motion, we can walk with it. So So let's go ahead and walk with it. And the best way to do that is whichever fan's about to go out to the front, that's what leg you're going to take a step with. This is really typically good for any kind of motion where you're coming in to a fire circle, or you're coming out of a stage performance, or any kind of motion like that. I've actually done this in a few fan collaboration videos where my last movement's always this, walking out. So what we want to do is, with that dynamic motion coming to the back, and this one's coming to the front, in the part where we're actually moving our fan to the front, whichever hand that is the hand we're going to be taking a step. So all together we go one step, one step, one step, one step. So we could then essentially follow any kind of beat of the music and just bounce with it as you're walking with it. So on a quick motion. That was kind of opposite foot, but you know what I mean. So that's with a walking slide through. There's many different kinds of slide throughs you can think of. If our hands are here, we can just static movement and change them to kind of go. In any examples, that's just a very brief example of what we can do. There's many options to a slide through, and then there's even patterns with these slide throughs. For instance, the slide through we were doing right in the beginning, if we just switched our hand and made our top still do the slide through and our bottom still do the static motion, we're now suddenly making a 4-pedal box fire. If we spread it out just a little bit more, we're making a 4-pedal box. And all I'm doing is just switching my hands right there at that one point. So really all slide throughs can come from any kind of area, in any kind of position, any kind of motion, any kind of way, as long as we have the essential motion of the slide through, which is dropping, pulling our hand across, as if we're linear isolating it across, and grabbing the other side. Harder one to go up. Harder one to go up. There we go. So we always have that option. And your fan that's going to be just statically moving with it, as long as you have some sort of way of making a linear wick isolate across, or in this case, it's kind of doing it far away to make that pattern. With the walking, we're making this nice little like elliptical here on the side of our head. There's a drill where you can pull this slide back, pull this slide back, pull this one forward, pull this one forward, and have it just basically switching behind the head. Any kind of motion like that, any kind of behind the back motions, pulling in and down. All these motions we're letting go or we're just pulling across to do whatever we need to do with it. So I hope you go out there and you explore slide throughs.